Carolina. Mr. McHenry, who is the ranking member of the committee, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would, on this debate about corporate profits, I would commend to the committee Secretary Yellen's statement where she rejects the idea of corporate greed is to blame for inflation, and I concur. We have a complex set of issues. The fiscal house was certainly different than monetary policy, and the extraordinary nature of the partisan American Rescue Plan and $2 trillion injected into a recovering economy and Democrat policies to keep people out of the workforce for longer than the rest of the Western world also contributed to inflation. So that is a political debate here on Capitol Hill, Chairman Powell, and that is on the political side. What I want to ask you about are the policy tools that you are using. Now, certainly you, as chair of the Fed and the Open Markets Committee, took extraordinary measures in the midst of the pandemic to ensure that we didn't have further contagion, and including extraordinary lending facilities, purchasing securities, keeping the federal funds rate at zero. These were the right tools at the right time. On the fiscal side, you had to partner with bipartisan bills to keep our economy afloat during government shutdowns. But like all the good firefighting measures, we should put them away when times change. I want to talk to you as you put these measures away, how you expect the economy to respond. So let's start here. What is your level of commitment to fight inflation?
Well, so it's unconditional, our commitment is, and the reason is that we need to, in a particular situation, we have a labor market that's sort of unsustainably hot, and we're very far from our inflation target. We really need to restore price stability, get inflation back down to 2%, because without that, we're not going to be able to have a sustained period of maximum employment, where the benefits are spread very widely and where people's wages aren't being eaten up by inflation. Really, it's something that we need to do, we must do, in order to have that kind of a labor market. We'll need to do it.
So as you pull back these emergency measures from COVID, and you normalize rates to what they look like sort of in the long run, how do you expect the economy to respond?
So when we raise interest rates, and also to a lesser extent when the balance sheet shrinks, what happens is rates go up across the economy and financial conditions generally tighten. And you can think of it as in interest-sensitive spending is an important place that'll be affected, and that's things like automobiles and other durable goods. If rates are higher, then demand for cars will moderate, will decline a bit. The second channel would be asset prices generally. We don't target any particular asset prices, but higher interest rates tend to bring them down broadly. That tends to mean a little bit less spending because people's wealth has perhaps declined a little bit. And the third channel can be the exchange rate, where that also has disinflation effects. So overall, we have these effects on the economy. Our intent, of course, is to bring inflation down to 2% while preserving a strong labor market. As I've mentioned, that has become significantly more challenging with the events of the past few months, particularly the war, which is driving gas prices up and raising energy prices and also food prices and disrupting supply chains further.
So at the same time, you have a massive balance sheet. First begin with mortgage-backed securities. As we have a roll-off of the Fed's balance sheet of mortgage-backed securities, what are expectations for how that affects housing?
So I think what will affect housing is the rate. The housing industry and market are slowing down from a very, very hot pace, and that's partially because of higher mortgage rates. The effects of shrinking the balance sheet will be marginal compared to the effects that we're seeing and expect to continue to see from rates rising mortgage rates.
But what are your expectations and any further announcements? Can we expect further announcements on the assets you hold and the securities you hold? Or are there going to be balance sheet announcements in the coming weeks?
No, I would say this. We have a plan. We've articulated it. The markets are forward-looking. They see it. And the markets are in a good place, I think, understanding what we're going to do, and that's we're going to be allowing these securities to mature and run off our balance sheet at a pace that we've said, and it'll be 90 or 95 billion, I guess, by September. Now it's about half of that. So that's what we've done, and we expect, the idea is that that'll just be on an ongoing basis in the background, and we think the markets can handle that. Treasury issuance is way down, so we think there will be demand for these securities. The Treasury will then reissue them in whatever form they think is appropriate when it relates to Treasuries. So,
Thank you.
The gentleman from New York, Mr.